hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Five Lug Racing. With you as always, I am Don, my partner in crime, Ryan. We are here breaking down everything Atlanta Motor Speedway, Echo Park Speedway as of recent. Incredible, just fantastic racing across the board. Of course, we had a big one we had to deal with, took out a lot of heavy hitters in that one. You know, that's a part of the racing style. That's what comes with it. We're going to break down Atlanta for you guys. We're going to talk a little bit about Chicago Street Course. That is coming at us hot. It's coming at us fast, y'all. It's happening, and I'm ready for it. But, of course, we always want to shout out our amazing sponsor, KK's Diecast community there on Facebook. He has got all sorts of deals on so many different diecasts across the board to choose from. If he doesn't have what you're looking for, I am almost certain he can get what you're looking for. So make sure you go check out his page there on Facebook. We'll leave his link down in our description for you guys to go check out. Also, he has another diecast of the week. It's going to be an Elite Chase Elliott autographed diecast. That thing is gorgeous. It is the just incredible Napa scheme that Chase runs. One of my favorites that he runs. So make sure you get over there and check that one out. Throw a bid on there. Maybe you'll get it for a decent price. You never know. But yeah, Ryan, hey, we had Atlanta. We got Chicago coming up. Let's talk about it.
Man, Don, great to be back. Great to just break down Atlanta. Oh my goodness, what a race. Like, first of all, it was electric. If you weren't on the edge of your seat, you didn't have a pulse, or you just lost care because your driver got knocked out of the race. In that instance that,
Right.
that might have happened, there was still a good bit of racing to take place and a lot of great cars and the storylines that unfold because realistically, we had two big ones. We had that smaller one at first and then the huge one right after.
Right.
So many heavy hitters, like you mentioned, Don, just gone, wiped out. And it totally changed the whole landscape of how this race was going to play out because you had a bunch of cars up front that are desperately searching for wins, including your eventual race winner. And, it just was really, really interesting to see how it was going to all play out at the end. I was on the edge of my seat. The lead changes, the risky moves that these guys were taking. There have been two huge wrecks and they didn't care one iota.
Yep.
They're carving it up. The finishing order was just, it was kind of neat because you got to see some names up front that typically aren't there. By the way, that in-season tournament, Don, you could take your bracket and crumble it up and throw it out the window.
Dude, mine hit the trash like 20 laps in.
It was so bad. Like everybody's, there's no perfect brackets standing. NASCAR released the data for everybody that did it online. None of you are gonna win. It's over. Don, your quote was epic. Go ahead, say it.
NASCAR is just diabolical for making Echo Park Speedway the first race. You're going to put this on a pack racing style track and expect brackets to come through? It ain't happening. NASCAR played us all, and it was awesome.
Yeah, NASCAR did us dirty. It was, come on now. Who had Ty Dillon beating Christopher Bell? Nobody. It's like nobody.
I think he was. I think he was mixed up with Denny Hamlin.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, Hamlin. I forget who was up against Bell, but all the heavy hitters, they were gone. Yep. Ryan Blaney knocked out early. It was just all the Penske cars wiped out in one wreck. It was, and they had some fast Fords. Those Penske cars were good. So we don't know. Yeah, we don't know how this race was really going to play out, at the end until, it's a battle of attrition. And that's what happened. I want to give a shout out to one of the budding superstars of this sport. It's going to be a name that's a household name in racing if it's not already. It is in my home. Connor Zilic. He had both of those huge wrecks happen right in front of him, and he missed both of them. Comes home P11, gets more oval experience, especially because he talks about how the Xfinity car and this car are nothing alike, and
Right.
getting to figure those things out, put a whole race together, avoid the melee, come home P11. That's a big win for him and his Trackhouse Racing '87 Red Bull Chevy. I mean, just they got to go through that whole race. And Ty Dillon, great finish for him, 8th place. That's a huge morale booster for that 10 colleague team. That Ricky Stenhouse getting a 6th place finish. Then you get into the top 5 names that you're used to seeing towards the front. Brad Keselowski darn near gets one a week after his blunder at Pocono. He's been so close at times this year. He's had the speed, just couldn't quite capitalize late in that race. Elliott gets around him. Chase Elliott, the hometown hero, gets it done at Atlanta, and he oh so desperately needed a win. Last time he won was near your hometown in Texas when he won at Texas Motor Speedway. He took that Hooters car to victory lane. The last race we had seen Hooters on board. It's so it was. It's been a long time. It ended a big drought for Chase Elliott. I seen so much emotion out of him when you normally get more of a stale face Chase. Like
Right.
he's hard to read. He's got a poker face. He's a hard to read guy and can be a little dry at times. But man, he was not dry at Atlanta. He was so excited. Chase Elliott Nation fans, congratulations! They rang the siren. Dawsonville,
Yeah.
Georgia was going nuts. But
Yeah.
yeah, Brad Keselowski darn near ruffled up the playoffs.
Mhm.
But still, with Chase Elliott's win, he locks in, and now we have 8 races left of the regular season. We still only have 4 slots remaining for the postseason. Above the cut line to get into the postseason.
Yep.
8 races, 4 slots. Oh boy. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Tyler Reddick had an amazing 45 piece. He was out there dicing it up with those guys at the end of the race. And there was a moment where I thought maybe he'd be the one to lock himself in, take that Superman car to victory lane. But he narrowly misses out. Still gets a good finish, got stage points.
Yep. Stage win.
Important. Yeah, stage win. Important for him because he is the highest above the cut line of those that are not guaranteed a playoff spot right now. And
Right.
looking at the playoff standings, as of right now, going into Chicago, Tyler Reddick is plus 128. So he's not comfortable though. Don, we spoke with him at Pocono. He told us he needs a win. He
Yep.
reiterated that post race after he didn't win at Atlanta. He was still overall happy with getting a good, solid day out of, they needed it, especially after the, Pocono weekend for them. It didn't go well for any of the 2311 cars at
Right.
Pocono. Um, Unfortunately, 2 out of the 3 were caught up in accidents at Atlanta. Just a recipe of the racing, right? But
Right.
at the same respect, though, Reddick did have a good day, but still not comfortable. He
No,
knows he
not
needs a
safe.
win. And 128. We played this game. We mentioned it in last week's episode. We played this game last year, thinking, oh, last year we thought for sure Martin Truex Jr. was going to be absolutely a lock, safe, and just continued to go on a skid and barely gets himself in on points last year into the postseason. You can't be comfortable if you're Reddick. And then when you're in 14th, 15th, and 16th, you definitely can't be comfortable. So Chris Buescher is 52 points above the cut line. Alex Bowman is 39 points above the cut line. And Bubba Wallace is the same as his car number, 23 points above the cut line. None of those guys can be safe, comfortable at all. Ryan Preece is there, minus 23. Eric Jones, minus 49. Mind you, these legacy cars, I've mentioned it before. They keep putting together some solid runs. The speed's there. They're getting more consistency. Could they be one of those teams to win their way in? From below the cut line. John Hunter Nemechek is in 24th spot, minus 82. But again, the 42 and the 43 car have been showing the pace they need in a race to contend, but they need to put the finishes together. The consistency's got to be there. But I've seen enough to know, they show up to one of these tracks and steal one away, so to speak. Oh boy, because we're almost in that playoff crisis mode, right? That the anxiety and the angst going into the next 8 weeks for those 4 teams that are above and the teams that are below. They know what they got to do. Everybody is in we have to win type of mode, which as a fan sitting at home,
Right.
an analyst sitting here, we love it. We're here for it. It's exciting. But at the same time,
Yep.
it's stressful. And now we're going into a race that has been proven to be so exciting. The last 2 years that we've been able to run this place is the Chicago Street Race. And, it's one of the most unique races on the track because there's really no banking at this road course. There's elevation changes, sure, but it's a street course, and it proves to a certain driving style and habit. And folks, we're just going to say it. We're entering SVG's playground. He won the inaugural one. Don, you said it pre-race, and you could elaborate a little bit more. Shane was probably going to win last year.
Yeah,
I mean,
Shane was primed up with a fast race car last year at the Chicago event. It was one of his one-off races. He wasn't full-time Cup until this year, but they went ahead and put him in another Cup car. It was the 16 Saucy Nugs Wendy's car. It looked awesome. The car was bad fast, and he just accidentally got caught up in another driver locking it up coming into one of these huge braking zones. Chase Briscoe comes in too hot, locks up the wheels, makes contact. It was really interesting the way it happened, because Chase makes contact as he's sliding through this 90-degree turn, and he catches the back of Shane Van Gisbergen. He doesn't spin him out. He doesn't actually wreck him there. What he does is pushes him full throttle into the wall of that 90-degree turn, ends up breaking the toe link. Shane stays over. So, who knows what happens? I know it's a circumstance, but SVG was primed up to win that race. The day after winning the Xfinity race, which nobody was really shocked by, and listen, we're going right back to Chicago once again, and Shane is now full-time Cup, so the confidence level is higher. His experience and everybody he's around and used to racing these guys is leveled up. So I would not be surprised to see Shane go out there and make easy
yeah.
work there and make easy
Yeah,
work of it.
and while we're on the topic of him, he did win the Xfinity race last year, as you mentioned. He's getting a chance, thanks to Junior Motorsports and the alliance that Trackhouse and Junior Motorsports has together, to defend that win. He'll be racing the 9 entry for JRM on Saturday. And we
Yep.
got to speak on this for a second, because we know with Shane being a Red Bull athlete, and also Connor Zilic being a Red Bull athlete, they came out with some killer paint schemes for the Xfinity race this
Yep.
weekend. If you're a fan of the Red Bull schemes, your eyes have got to be big this weekend, because both Connor and Shane have some awesome looking rides. So they WeatherTech, their partner WeatherTech, and Red Bull have agreed to split the cars, and they did a mashup of the cars, and we'll put it right here as we're
Yep.
talking about it. You'll see the graphic. The mashup of these cars, beautiful work, beautiful design. I'm a fan. They're probably both going to be sitting on my shelf in 10 to 12 months whenever the diecasts are produced. They're really, really cool looking diecasts. And but yeah, this Xfinity race, with SVG going into it, it also plays into dynamics there. We don't have trucks this weekend. The trucks are not running for another 3 weeks. So 3 races, yeah, basically, and then they catch up with the Xfinity and the Cup guys. So the Chicago Street Race is going to be the Xfinity guys, and then the Cup guys. And SVG has absolutely shown why in both Xfinity and in the inaugural event, and having all the speed in the world last year to defend that Cup title as well, possibly sweep the weekend. Going to be a tough beat this year.
And let's not forget that 9 car that Shane's going to be driving. That's that same camp it came out of for the Mexico City race a few weeks ago that Daniel Suarez went and won. So we know they put fast road course cars on the racetrack.
Yeah,
so
and not for nothing, the 88 car is also going to be extremely fast because Connor Zilic is
Absolutely.
a road course wizard. At the ripe young age of 18 years old, now he's almost 19. He's got a couple weeks to go. He's almost 19, but what he has accomplished this far into his career, and I say this far, it's such a young career. But when you look at the resume, it's like, whoa. I mean, winning the 24 hours Daytona, like that's a huge stamp on a resume to do that at such a young age at an enduro race.
Yep.
The races that he's won in the Xfinity series, he goes out his inaugural race at Watkins Glen last year, his first ever time behind the wheel of an Xfinity car, puts it on the pole, was the fastest in practice, and had all the adversity happen in the race, and still goes out and finds a way to win that race. And just he's been bad fast at he won COTA this year, and then figuring out these ovals, or his team gave him a hard time, said you still haven't won on an oval. It was a triangle, but he wins Pocono. And that team has got all the momentum in the world going for them right now. They had another strong week this past weekend, for his Xfinity team as well. The top fives just keep getting hammered off. It's going to be quite the exciting Xfinity race. Just as much action on the track as what we're going to see in the Cup race this weekend. And so since we're at that part now, we're going to go ahead and give you our dark horse and our favorite for this weekend's Xfinity race. And then we'll talk more about these Cup guys that we like. So I'll go. Don, we're going to stick true to our format here. Our format is, roughly the 12th and below in points. And since the driver I'm about to mention is not in the running for an Xfinity championship this year, I'm just going to go with it. Don probably piggyback, and that's okay because we're just smart. The 9 car, Shane Van Gisbergen, and that Junior Motorsports team is going to be bad fast this weekend, and he's my dark horse.
There's nothing to argue. There's nothing to dispute. Shane is fast. He's proven it at Xfinity and in Cup at this racetrack. There's no reason to bet against him as our dark horse. But of course we got to do a favorite too. So it'll be really interesting to see where our favorites go in this one.
Again, I'm just, I just got done praising him, and I'm going to give him more praise right now. He's 18, folks, and he's going out here and just continues to prove himself. And, when we had the opportunity and pleasure to chat with him at Pocono, he talks of why he's a title contender and the belief that he has in himself, and not only himself, but his race team. His race team is incredible. And I am not going to pick against it this weekend. It's the 88 car of Connor Zilic. I'm going to take one of those Red Bull cars to victory lane in my picks this weekend. One of them's going to be a race win, and the other's just going to be on my shelf right next to it. But who do you got as your favorite?
Hey, maybe we'll get lucky and Lionel will hit us with a dual set, so you can buy them
that would be
together.
nice.
But who knows? But I really want to go with Connor. That's a great pick, excellent pick. There's no reason to bet against Connor, especially with the confidence that he's running with this season. Headed right back to another road course where he shines so bright. But I got to lean a little bit different. This 7 car from Junior Motorsports also, Justin Allgaier knows how to get it done. at all types of racing, and that's no exception at road courses. Would not be surprised whatsoever to see our defending Xfinity champion lift a Chicago Street Course trophy this
Don, I
weekend.
absolutely love that pick. And, like you said, he's a champion in this sport. That 7 team unloads fast every track they go to. They're always in contention somehow, some way. And I just want to put out a stat here because that's what I do. But, he's run both of the races here, and he and another active driver are tied for the best average finish for those who have ran 2 races. And that would be Justin Allgaier and Austin Hill, both tied for an average finish of 6th. And I slide down a little bit further to Sammy Smith at 9.5. So those JRM cars are going to be fast here this weekend in the Xfinity race. And, I'm excited to see how it shakes out. I know there's going to be some kinks in the road, some hurdles to overcome for some of these teams. Somebody's going to have something happen to them to where it's going to make us probably like, oh, well,
Right.
there goes my pick. But, maybe not. Maybe our guys are up there all in the top 5 at the end of this thing, fighting it out. Just depends on how they play the strategy. And, we talk of strategy too. Shane doesn't have to try to play strategy for points. The 88 and the 7 might want to get some stage points and one of those stages, so it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out. But however they play it early on, they're going to want to be there and play it right to be there in that final stage, in stage 3, to put yourself in contention to win. So yeah, really, really looking forward to the Xfinity race on Saturday. And now we get to focus forward to those Cup guys on Sunday, where, we come in to a weekend with, again, 4 spots left available. The guys that are on that bubble, if they're not the ones crossing the checkered flag and taking that checkered flag first, they've almost got to be hoping and praying that it's a guy like SVG or Christopher Bell or somebody who has a win already. Because as these races dwindle down and we look at the schedule ahead, we got, it doesn't get any easier. We're in Chicago this week. We go to Sonoma next. And then you get the concrete mile of Dover. And then a crown jewel event in Indy, in the Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, a short track in Iowa, Watkins Glen, another road course, and then Richmond, and then the ultimate wild card at Daytona to finish it. Don, this is getting to be the nitty gritty. This is getting to be where the cream rise to the top. You're going to be battle tested by the time the playoffs come, because I don't know about you, Don, but I hate thinking about those guys that have got their win, thinking that they're not going to go out, like, oh, we're on easy street. No, they care about points too, because they need the playoff points.
Right.
Because the last thing they want to do is let guys like, right now, Kyle Larson is your points leader if the playoffs were today. He has 23 overall playoff points, and Denny Hamlin is right behind him at 19. Christopher Bell 16, Byron 12, so on and so forth. But those points matter. Those playoff points matter big time. We saw how much a regular season championship helped Tyler Reddick last year. Winning the regular season championship gets you those extra playoff points, helped propel him through some of those weaker tracks that teams have in a playoff system to get to that Final Four. They went out and won a race to get there, but at the same time, it's still staging those points, right? And right now, William Byron was one of those that were caught up in the big wrecks. He only has a 37-point cushion in the regular season championship chase to Chase Elliott. That has tightened up tremendously, minus 42 for Larson. So those Hendrick cars, basically those 3 Hendrick cars are all vying really tightly for the regular season championship. And then you got Denny Hamlin and Christopher Bell tied with the minus 80. Reddick in the regular season at minus 98. But that doesn't matter to Reddick. Again, we talked about him. He says, I need a win. Don, This is a place that has eluded Tyler Reddick. I think that there could be a path for a Tyler Reddick win this weekend.
Yeah.
He has had his chances. Why don't we talk about that a little bit, Don?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up because I was looking at the bubble, right? We're looking at the 4 drivers that are in the playoffs right now before Chicago Street Course. Okay, we're talking about Tyler Reddick, talking about Alex Bowman, we're talking about Chris Buescher, and we're talking about Bubba Wallace. Uh, First of all, Tyler Reddick and Alex Bowman finished 1-2 here last year. Okay, that screams to me right off the jump. Christopher Buescher had a win last year at a road course. Okay, and you want to add a little bit more to it. Bubba Wallace qualified extremely fast here last year, had a hot rod under his booty. Unfortunately, got caught up in getting spun out by Alex Bowman. We all remember how that played out. Bubba Wallace actually sideswipes Alex Bowman after Alex Bowman wins Chicago Street Course. NASCAR slaps him with a $50,000 fine. Wham Bam Dawson, have a good day. So I find it incredibly intriguing that the 4 guys on the bubble all have potential to win this week. I think that's just crazy how that all lined up to me. We talked to Chase Briscoe. We heard him in the media center at Pocono talk about the weight that gets lifted off of your shoulders once you get a win, and solidify your place in the NASCAR playoffs. But like you said, that doesn't mean that the job is over. The job's not finished. You still got to go out there. You still got to get your playoff points. You got to get yourself set up for a deep playoff run. You're going to end up with the guys that maybe don't have as much of a shot at the playoffs, or maybe the round of 12 and the round of 8. And so they're maybe still chasing trophies. They're just not in as good of a position. But you got guys like, if Tyler Reddick were to win a race, he's gonna leapfrog like 7 or 8 guys in the playoff standings, because here's another stat for you guys. Only 2 guys have gone the entire 2025 season without a DNF. We're talking Chase Elliott. We're talking Tyler Reddick. Okay. This far into the season, that's very difficult to do. By now, almost everybody had something go on, whether their own fault or not, take them out of a race. Those 2 guys have been the absolute model of consistency this season. It's been really fun to watch both of those guys get after it. Tyler Reddick gets a win. He's going to leapfrog a lot of guys as far as the playoff standings go. But you got your guys like Alex Bowman, Chris Buescher, and Bubba Wallace that desperately, desperately need a lot of help. And Chicago's just a great, great place for them to get that playoff spot solidified.
Yeah, it's great that you put it into perspective that way. Last year's defending winner, Alex Bowman, right now is a bubble driver, and is a place that he ran really, really well here, and Reddick as well, and the road courses have been hit or miss for Bubba Wallace, but he's gotten, I would say, astronomically better from the start of
Yeah.
his career to now. He's put a lot of work and emphasis because he knows if you're going to win a championship, you've got to be better here. You've got to
Yep.
perform. And Buescher, like you said, he wins Watkins Glen last year after the playoffs had already started and he had missed the playoffs.
Right.
But he knows how to win on a road course at least. And then you look at these outside bubble drivers. AJ Allmendinger is known for his road course savvy. This is
Yep.
a place where he potentially could put one down. He's got some opportunities though with the Sonoma and the Watkins Glen, and it's. I'm telling you, it's gonna be a nail biter because somebody is going to win. Oh, by the way, Michael McDowell. He's also very capable of going out and rattling off a road course win. And
Yep.
Spire Motorsports has shown the speed. I want to talk about another driver when I mentioned McDowell because he's also tied with him for the best average finish. So you look at the 2 races. If the drivers have ran both of them, not one, run both of them here. There's 2 tied for the best average finish, a 6th in the Cup Series. Michael McDowell being one. The other is Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs also has led 13.2% of the laps here in Chicago over 2 races. That's it's a pretty good stat because when you look at Ty Gibbs sitting 25th in points, 86 below the cut, a Ty Gibbs win.
Yep.
Again, that's he's leapfrogging a lot of people And it just puts more and more emphasis on, oh my goodness, we need to win.
Yep.
That 128 that Tyler Reddick has with a Ty Gibbs win then puts him, 3 above the cut line instead of 4. And, it knocks Bubba out of the playoffs if the points were to be how they were today.
Yep.
So it is absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. Because McDowell could win. Gibbs could win on these road courses. There are road course drivers that are capable. Daniel Suarez, we can't not mention him. His first career win in the Cup Series came on a road course. It came in Sonoma, so we'll talk about him again in a couple more weeks, but he's sitting 30th in points right now and could go win this thing because
Yep.
we know the Trackhouse cars will have speed because Shane helps that. They are a team and they talk and they work with each other on that.
Yep.
It's absolutely wild. And I want to mention one others because when we look at statistics, he's ran both of the races here. Best average finish. He's got the third best average finish, right behind the McDowell, Gibbs, Kyle Busch at 7th. I want to talk about Justin Haley. Justin Haley has an average finish of 9th here. In 2 races, he has a top 5 and a top 10 and has led 16.9% of the laps here. That's insane
Yep.
because you got to also factor in Shane Van Gisbergen leading a bunch of laps and Joey Hand, who only ran 1 race, led a lot of laps too.
Yeah.
So you bring in those road racing specialists like a Joey Hand, kind of jumbles things up here. But we certainly remember him doing it, and he was out there running laps around here. But Justin Haley, like that's not a name you think of when it comes to road racing, but somehow he has managed to run really well here and lead laps here. He's sitting
Yep.
31st in points. We bring you these statistics to open your eyes and be receptive to the fact of what can happen in the next 8 weeks, next 8 races that we have here. 4 spots remain, 8 races. Don, you said it. We might have to retract our statement on not having 16 winners. We didn't think it was going to potentially happen. But now that we've rattled off a couple new winners, it very well could.
Yep.
There's a pathway. The math is definitely there. 4 spots, 8 races. Yeah, that
And
math is definitely.
the way the
Yeah,
tracks line up are just begging for new winners to take them.
yeah. It's absolutely. Maybe NASCAR did know something when they set up this schedule. Setting it up for us to be here chatting with you all about it and breaking it down because this is absolutely why we tune in.
Yep.
And this is, as we get closer and closer and closer to the playoffs, those points matter more and more and more. And even if you're locked into the postseason, you still need those playoff points because it is so, so close. Like when you look above where those points are and those people jockeying for position, I mean, sitting in 8th in points right now is Chase Briscoe. He has 6 playoff points. Joey Logano has 7. He's in 7th. And then in the 6th spot is 8. And then it's tied. Actually, Cindric and Blaney are both tied at 8, but Blaney, by the virtue of a tiebreaker, is sitting in 5th. So you could absolutely get stage points or playoff points and leapfrog these guys very easily. Folks, Shane Van Gisbergen sitting in 10th right now. He has that win in Mexico. If he wins this weekend, folks, he now has more wins than Ryan Blaney does.
Yep.
So he jumps to 5th in playoff points. It's wild, and it's gonna be. So buckle up, y'all, because I'm
Yep.
here for it. I know you're here for it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
get your
yeah,
popcorn ready. Get your popcorn
yeah.
ready because it's going to be exciting. And Chicago has delivered some really exciting races the first 2 years. Now, I know the future is uncertain as far as NASCAR returning to Chicago street course, but I also know that NASCAR is exploring other options in other cities to put on shows. I think that's incredible. I think new venues is just what the doctor ordered. It gives fans that may not have made a race in their life a chance to make a NASCAR race, and that is so important for the growth of this sport. That's why we're here. We're here to help grow the sport from the inside out. NASCAR knows what
Absolutely.
they're doing. They're strategically placing courses around the country to get more and more fans involved in the sport. And I think that's wonderful. I think they're doing a great job.
Yeah, and personally, I really like the Chicago track. I
Yeah,
think NASCAR kind of got weather bitten the first 2 years of this, and I looked at the weather. I took a peek.
I did too.
That four-letter R word. I think we're gonna miss it this year. I'm knocking on wood right now, but it looks really good on Sunday as we sit recording this. The odds of precipitation are really down. Not like the monsoon we had the first year, which we still
Right.
ended up running it with them rain tires. And then
Yep.
they had to throw on the rain tires last year as well.
Yep.
But call me crazy, but those rain tires add a special dynamic to this race all of itself.
I, I
I I personally, you throw on them rain tires, and you see the cream kind of rise to the top a little bit. It's like,
yep.
there's a couple drivers that pop off in my head. I won't name the names, but a couple drivers that pop off in my head that when those rain tires go on, they're licking their chops, and
Oh
in a
yeah.
good way,
Yep.
because they seemingly got something figured out on driving on a wet surface or slick surface, and those driving styles and this how it suits the drivers and such. But you know, for the sake of not just NASCAR, but for the fans, I want a dry race out here, because I know the fans have gone out to Chicago 2 years in a row, and I know they're going to show up in the droves this year as well. It's an event, it's a spectacle, and
Yeah.
NASCAR does it right. They've got concerts all over the city. They've got all these events to 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 make it an event. It's not just a race, but it's an event. It's an
Right.
atmosphere they want
Like a
you to
festival.
experience. And not for nothing, but I want to give a shout out to Pocono Raceway because that's what they do when NASCAR comes to town. That's why
Yep.
they sell out. Other tracks listening, take note. You want to put fans in the seat? Make a spectacle of your event. Be
Right.
privileged. Be proud. Put on a show, not just on the track, but around it. Build it
Yeah.
up. That's what NASCAR used to do. Some of the tracks got away from it a little bit. Some of them have stayed true to it, and it's worked out for them. But you see the success of F1, right? Let's talk about that for a second because these street style races, these street courses, that's what you see in F1. They don't race ovals. They don't race your typical road courses most of the time.
Right.
It's this setting that they thrive in, and it's this setting that the fans go, "Oh, F1's so awesome." Why is it awesome? Because of the event. You can't tell me that the on track is any better than NASCAR because with the team orders and the passing and all that stuff, no, it's not. It's equivalent, but it's not better. And that's sure. It's my opinion. People might roast me for it, but when you look at it as a whole, what's F1 doing that NASCAR just did in Mexico? NASCAR does in Chicago. They're putting an event on. That's what
Yep.
Pocono Raceway just did, and they sold out the infield and the grandstands. Guys, it's no coincidence. Put an event on. If you're a track listening to this, take pride in your events.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Because
Yeah.
NASCAR does it right when they go out to Chicago. That place is lit, and I want a dry. I want a dry event, so all those fans that are pouring out to support the sport we love gets the show that they deserve, not only on the track but off it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, Ryan. And you're not wrong. I mean, if you want people to come out and enjoy an entire day of stuff, not just a 2.5 hour race, go put concerts on. Like you said, go, man, line up food trucks all around those venues. People love that sort of stuff. So, there's opportunity at some places, and some places are still doing it right. But you nailed it right on the head. Some tracks got away from it a little bit, and I think it can be salvaged if they put a little bit more into the upcoming events before the race gets started, and even throw a post race party afterwards. Why not? Give the fans a reason to stick around afterwards too. It's just there's so many opportunities to do something, and maybe some of them aren't doing it as much. And there's a little bit of room for improvement there. So it would be great to see.
Yeah, why not? Why not try it? And I bet you it works more than it doesn't.
Yeah.
Don, real quick, I'm going to fire off some stats on the early Vegas odds here because Vegas
All
does
right.
not like to lose.
Yep.
So I'm going to give you the top 8 drivers here as far as the odds to win. The hands down favorite, no surprise to me. It's not going to be to you either. It is SVG, Shane Van Gisbergen, at plus 225. Christopher Bell comes in second, Larson third, Gibbs fourth. We got Reddick, Elliott, Byron, and Michael McDowell rounding out the
Right
top
on.
8 there in statistical odds as far as favoritism to win this event here in Chicago this weekend. Now it's time for us to give you ours, our dark horse and our favorites. So when we look at the standings here, and well, I mean, if we're going to play by the rules, Don, this gets harder and harder and harder to do. Um, I am really, really torn on a couple pieces here, but there's just one that sticks out in front of me as far as, I say play by the rules with how we pick our dark horses and such.
Right.
Coming from below the standings, and I just mentioned him a few minutes back, putting a wrinkle into the playoff picture because he was bad fast in Mexico. He's excellent on road courses. You could say what you want about him, but that is one of the areas that this guy thrives. And I'm talking about the 54 of Ty Gibbs. Um, you know, he's a pole sitter at this track. He's led laps. He's getting the results. Average finish of sixth. What's not to like about that? Give me, and I'm going to add this one little thing too. JGR has got an incredible, incredible road race package. So
Yep.
he's got that in his back corner too. So I really like the dark horse pick of Ty Gibbs this weekend. And man, I'll tell you what, if he gets it done, not only will it be an exhilarating first career win for him, but it could potentially lock him into the postseason and really put a wrinkle in the rest of this playoff picture for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's a great pick. Like you said, he had a great start to the race last year. Got caught up in a bad pit cycle. None of his fault. A caution came out while he was on pit road. He got caught back in the traffic after that and just really couldn't quite get back to the front like he wanted to. Ty Gibbs, ton of speed here. Love the pick. Would not be surprised whatsoever to see him really shake up the playoffs. I'm going to go ahead and before I get my dark horse, elaborate on that again. I have no doubts we're going to have two more drivers completely just wrench up this playoffs before it's all said and done. Uh, we've talked about it. We didn't think it was going to happen, but now we're getting too close. Yeah, it's getting too close now. I just don't see how we don't end up with 16 winners by the end of the regular season. So it would not surprise me if Ty is one of them. It wouldn't surprise me if Michael Dow is one of them. Chris Buescher, the list goes on. Yeah, let's do a dark horse. Let's see. Colleague racing. They've got a guy that sits in their stable that knows how to win these types of races. He's won them before. He's no stranger to it. But AJ Allmendinger, it's been a minute before we've seen AJ in victory lane. He's got more than enough ability to really, really mess up what a lot of playoff teams are hoping to accomplish this year. He hasn't had an ideal 2025 season, but it hasn't been the worst. We've seen some other guys with, not to name drop here, but Brad Keselowski, really struggling this season. So it wouldn't surprise me to see somebody like AJ get up there, especially at a road course. And again, if we get some rain, he is able to navigate around that little Charlie horse too. So 16 Colleague Racing, AJ Allmendinger dark
I love
horse.
it. And I can't argue it either. And he's a guy that if he gets into the post, especially with a track like the Roval in there, that but he also can do well on ovals. So, it's just he's not just one sided, but yeah, AJ, back full time this year in the Cup Series hasn't been the greatest, but it hasn't been the worst of seasons either. But yeah, absolutely love the pick, and I could absolutely see him going trophy hunting here and get one in Chicago. Now it's time. Now it's
Yep.
time for the favorite, and well, you know, there's a handful of drivers that I absolutely can see a pathway to victory here. I'm talking about Christopher Bell. I'm talking about Tyler Reddick. Those two names jump off at me. I'll even mention Chase Briscoe. Chase had a really good Mexico race. Just the strategy at the end and kind of goofing up on his own end of things. But the JGR, again, I'll reiterate that JGR road race package is phenomenal. So the JGR cars I expect to see out towards the front. But when it comes to my favorite, I can't pick against this guy right now on a road race. And he just showed you why in Mexico. He dusted them in the third stage. And it just it's tough. It's tough, Don, and we very well may share this pick, but Shane Van Gisbergen is probably getting his second win of the season this weekend. And I'm okay putting my money there. I really am. It's a safe pick, sure, but it's also a fact proven. This dude knows how to get around this joint type of pick, and
Yep.
he wins the inaugural one, shows the Cup guys what's up. Coming from New Zealand to run a one-off, which really set the ball in motion for him to be here right now running a full-time season, because not only did he light the world on fire, but he's just such a charismatic guy, such a good guy, always got a smile on his face and just fully enjoys what he does. But yeah, I mean, come on. It's hard to pick against SVG this weekend. So I like them to get their second win of the season, which those four guys on the bubble will breathe a little bit more of a sigh of relief as long as they don't mess up their own weekend and fall closer and closer to that cut line.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. We talk about these guys worried about new winners shaking up their playoffs. They have to still take care of business and make sure they don't find themselves out of the top 16 in case there's not new winners as these last 8 races wind down. That's a great point. Nobody is safe in that bubble area.
Mm-mm.
Tyler Reddick could very well find 4 new winners ahead of him, have a really great, consistent regular season, didn't get a win, didn't get a playoff spot. So that would be astronomically way, way off of my early season prediction. I thought Tyler would have at least 2 or 3 wins by now at this point in the season. Just the cards haven't been there for him, but he does find himself with a healthy lead. The first driver without a win in the playoff standings, but that doesn't mean anything, y'all. He's not safe. He's comfortable, quote, comfortable, but it's not safe.
Right.
So, you hit the nail on the head with SVG. If he doesn't get accidentally taken out by an accident, not of his doing last year, he could very well win 3 Cup races in a row in 3 different cars. That's pretty crazy too. We're talking about the 91, what would have been the 16 last year, and now this year in the 88. That would have been, that's just one of those things that doesn't happen, you know. But SVG is very capable of doing it. It's not going to be any surprise from anyone listening to our picks that I'm going to go ahead and roll with the 88 of Shane Van Gisbergen. I'm not even going to beat around the bush with you guys. There's no reason for us to pick against him. There's a reason we go the way we go with our picks, and SVG gives us every single reason to believe that he will be lifting a trophy on Sunday, rain or shine. Give me that 88 Chevrolet from Trackhouse Racing.
Yeah, and Trackhouse is putting together some strong races. Especially these road races for Shane. It's his wheelhouse, and they're going to bring a piece for him. It's just hard to pick against it, Don. I mean, we could say great minds think alike, but we're also smart minds looking at all of the body of work, the statistics, and everything that go into it. I think we're going to see a rugby ball punt in Chicago this weekend.
Oh, I love it. And let's talk about that for a second. He had a long rugby ball punt at Mexico City a few weeks ago. I didn't think it was going to make the fence, but sure enough, that thing sailed, and a lucky fan got themselves an autographed rugby ball from Shane Van Gisbergen. Would not be surprised to see the same thing happen this weekend. You mentioned the weather. The weather looks absolutely beautiful for Saturday. Make no mistake about it. That's going to be a great day. Like you said, there's that tiny little inkling of a chance there on Sunday, but I think we dodge it this time. I think third time's the charm, and we get ourselves a sunny street course there in Chicago. So I'm really looking forward to it. Ryan, I know you're looking forward to it. Absolutely can't wait to break it down because we never know what's going to happen. It could go completely against what we said, and Shane could have malfunction and everything's completely turned upside down,
Right.
So that's why we tune in and watch. That's why we love the sport. I want to take a second and thank all of our fans. You guys are absolutely amazing. We have seen such an uptick in every aspect of what we've been doing the last couple of weeks. And without you guys, that doesn't happen. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Keep up all your hard work and supporting what we're doing. We love the comments. We love the feedback. We love engaging with you guys. Keep that stuff up. Y'all are the real MVPs. But yeah, man, another great episode here at Five Lug Racing. Don, Ryan, we're going to be here breaking it down next week for you guys. Make sure you're tuning into Chicago Street Course because it's going to be a special one. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Y'all take care.